to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And we are back once again. It is Sunday afternoon, and we are tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And it is the last day of the year. Now is the time to make your New Year's resolutions to go out to train more, to dry fire, to put down the donut, whatever it might be. Now is the time, and we can you can kick off the year good and move forward with your training and a better life. So joining me today is we got Michael from Texas again. He is back. Hey
everyone.
We'll say you're a fan favorite. All four fans that listen to the podcast, they said they liked you. So
I'll take it.
You'll take it. So yeah, so we got through Christmas, and now New Year's is tomorrow, and I scrolling. I love scrolling through Facebook. I know you do. I know, Michael, you don't do social media, but I love scrolling through Facebook. Right before New Year's, people are like, "Yeah, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and we're going to this party." And it's a weird thing because in Idaho here, we actually have the Great Potato Drop. I know that's a little foreign to you, but they drop. I think they have a potato drop, and then they have a sugar beet drop. And we're mostly agriculture. Majority of what we got going on over here is agriculture, and us being the potato state. And then what people don't know is we actually have a whole bunch of sugar beets that we farm around here. So they have a potato drop and a sugar beet drop. And I've lived here for I've lived here for almost 30 years now, and I've yet to see any of them because guess what? I'm in bed by 8 o'clock. I have not stayed up till to see the new year in, to bring the new year in for years. I don't even know if I'd physically be able to keep myself awake that long. So do you got any crazy plans you do, or do you just kind of hang out with the family and go to bed like usual?
No, we normally stay up. Last year, my sister-in-law and her now fiance, they're getting married next year, but they always come over and we hang out. And we watch just kind of a recap of the year. And then my wife's all big into pop culture, so we watch that. We have some food, and then we have little confetti poppers and stuff. One of them, I guess we got, it was really good. We still have a little piece of confetti stuck on our popcorn ceiling that we did back in 2020. So the 2020 going into 2021, and it still hasn't fallen off. So
that was
funny.
That was a New Year's to remember.
Yeah, exactly. It's still up there, so maybe it'll fall down.
Well,
but we put the fan high, and it's still up there, so it's kind of funny.
I bet you. So you said we've talked a little bit on the phone, quite a bit actually. Text message and stuff. You said your wife's a pretty good cook, and she likes to bake a lot of things. And
yeah,
so your parties are probably, from my standpoint, your parties are probably pretty lit with food.
Yeah, they're she goes all out during Christmas Eve. She made a charcuterie board, so she got some fancy cheese and salami and all that stuff. And she made she plates it really nice. She cooks for Thanksgiving, and she pretty much cooks every day. So. But this year, over this time, we kind of took the shortcut, I should say. We went to Cheesecake Factory. I don't know if you have those there, but they have a dish called. Yeah. So they, it's a pretty good restaurant. So they have a dish, a chicken piccata.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's like capers, lemon sauce, and chicken and angel pasta. It's so good. So we just bought that, and we're just gonna reheat it for dinner. So we just bought that to go.
There you go, man. I'm going to be cooking something. So here's what happens, and you're not old enough to know how this works yet, trust me. But so what happens is like I'm an old guy, and I do have a 10-year-old still at home, and so my wife she's kind of a night owl. She gets her second wind at about 10 o'clock at night. And me, I've been in bed for 2 hours, but she's usually asleep within about 5 minutes when I lay down. But so she kind of hangs out with the 10-year-old, right? But I've got older kids that are like moved out and married, and they've got their own families now. So we are like the designated babysitters.
Oh, nice.
And
just
so
drop them off.
I love my grandkids, but that's just another reason for me to go to bed early and not have to worry about a bunch of little sugared up curtain climbers running around. It's just a mess. I love him, but man, I'm not. Yeah, not when I want to go to bed.
Yeah, I'm like on the complete opposite spectrum. My twins just turned 3, or they turned 3 in November. And so my 6-year-old, she's pretty good. Like, she'll listen and stuff like that. But the boys, they're just so rambunctious, and they egg each other on. I mean, as 3-year-olds do. So I'm trying to hang out with all 3 of them. And then I got like my gym downstairs, so I'm working out. My daughter, we'll take turns. But my boys are like running underneath the barbell, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to take a trip to the ER. So I'm like, everybody out.
Well, tonight what you need to do is when your wife's not looking, you need to feed your twin boys some like cotton candy or something, and then just go to bed.
Yeah.
Just leave them for your wife.
Well, one of them likes caffeine. He's like, caffeine.
Oh,
and he's like, ooh, I like it. He gets all hyper.
Oh man, grandkids are fun because you can kind of shake them up and send them back home. Anything I do when my kids are younger, it's your kids and they're at home, you're kind of stuck with. So
right.
So yeah, but anyhow, this is where we start off the program, right? Have you done anything? I'll get into what I've done, but have you done anything Second Amendment related since we talked last?
Since we talked last, just besides just carrying every day, I got a new project I'm kind of saving up for. I got a little bit of Christmas money, so I'm kind of saving up for a pump shotgun, kind of figuring out what parts I want to put on it and stuff like that. But
oh, nice.
Just carrying every day. I sent you that picture of that little dagger knife. I guess I don't know if knives are related. They're Second Amendment related, but yeah,
that's cool.
Kind of got that messing with that a bit. So yeah.
We used to do a video version. We would record this live sometimes, and I would, even when we weren't doing this like live where we were recording it, I had like those knives that I've showed you, right? And I'd kind of get one out and like play with it a little bit, and people some people got a little offended on YouTube. Like it was like turning people off because I'm like talking about firearms and I'm like twirling a knife around in my hand, and YouTube didn't like that, and Facebook definitely didn't like that because I used to stream live to both of them, and they got me kicked off Facebook a few times, and I think it's probably got a few videos taken down even on YouTube. So I had to put my knives away while I'm recording.
It's like adult fidget spinners. You see those little kids with the little fidget spinners. That's what men do. Those are men fidget spinners.
Exactly, especially the ones that flick out. They're really cool, But
yeah, the guy at the range when I went with my friend, one of the range officers, I was like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, and he's like, yeah, he does executive protection, and he works at the range, and then he does a couple other things, but. He was just sitting there with his like automatic knife, flick, 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 watching the monitors, making sure everyone was safe. But yeah, it's just a guy thing. So.
Oh yeah, and you got to send it back because you wore it out.
Yeah,
you messed with it so much you wore it out. But trying to think what I had going on here. So I ended up, my wife got the SIG P365X macro for Christmas, and she hasn't shot it yet. I think we might try to do that this afternoon. It's been real windy and kind of nasty out. She's going to go shoot it for the first time here in the next day or two. And then was
her reaction what you expected?
Oh yeah. She loved it. She wanted it. I mean, she wanted to get it earlier in the summer. So yeah, she was thrilled. And the fact that I got it with the red dot as well, like she's super excited. And so I'm not allowed to shoot it. and not now, not until she shoots it. That's what I was told. And then once she shoots it and gets, those first handful of shots off, right? Then she'll hand it back to me, and I'll dial in the red dot for her, and then we will proceed from there. And I was told I can't have any student, no students can shoot it either. Like I was told you cannot use it for any of your classes. It's like, okay.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad she liked it.
Oh, yeah, no, she loves it. So we're looking forward. My daughter, actually, unbeknownst to me, my daughter, my son-in-law bought my daughter the same gun, only minus the red dot. So they both got guns for Christmas, pretty much the same gun, just my wife's got the red dot on it, which I will say it's got that Sig Romeo Pro, which is like the second version of that red dot. I haven't messed with it yet, but that thing is solid, man. That thing is like well built. And from what I've heard, I think Holosun actually builds those or builds the new ones now. But man, that thing is solid. So I'm pretty impressed. I was never impressed with the first version of the Sig Romeo X or whatever they call it. Those were just horrible, and they had lots of problems, and they weren't durable. But this one looks like it's 10 times the red dot that the original version was. So I'll be interesting to see how it works and kind of how it holds up.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it almost seems like Sig, like they push stuff out too quick, and then they're like, everyone test it, and then when they come out with newer versions, then they're better. So I know like the 320s were like randomly going off, and then they fixed it, and then now they're version 2 of the red dot. I'm sure it's pretty good, because I mean I'm more of a Glock guy, but everyone's like, that's the 9mm versus 45 cal, Glock or Sig. It's the oldest debate in the book. But, it seems like Sig does come out with, when their version 2s and 3s are better, so I will give them that for sure.
My wife's first, original gun that she carries, or it doesn't even carry, but the original gun that she owned, right? The most recent one was the G43. And, I'll be honest, she's pretty darn accurate with that thing. Like, she can stack shots with that, right? But we decided to get her something a little bit bigger, a little more maybe comfortable to shoot, right? Something more comfortable to train with. And she pulled this thing out and was dry firing it. And she's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, it's way better than your stupid Glock trigger, isn't it? She's like, this thing is amazing.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm sure it is like a lot better. I've dry fired my friends. It was nice. I've shot it live too. It's just I don't know. I don't like the single stacks personally, but I think it's good for women and like people with smaller hands and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Why do you think people are so obsessed with like, oh, Glock's the best when the triggers are not great? And I think do you think it's just so many people out there that have like used them for self-defense, like law enforcement, military, and it's like been reliable. So then that comes down to like civilians or whatever. Or I don't know.
So I will say, you Glock,
they're reliable.
They are pretty reliable, and they came up. Then actually, Gaston Glock actually died this week, and he finally. Yeah, he passed away, but he's actually got a pretty James or Magnum, however you refer to him. We didn't go into detail the other day, but I was talking to him, and he said that if you ever want to really cool, do some cool research, he says look up the story of Gaston Glock, like his like first business partner like tried to murder him and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I mean, if you think about it, I'm not trying to give Glock a bunch of kudos, but I mean, they were kind of the beginning, almost to a certain extent, the beginning of like the striker fired type, that kind. I mean, every other pistol is kind of almost, built off of that idea, right? I mean, as far as a striker fired gun, in fact, there's lawsuits to prove it. And as far as them being popular, why are they popular? Because I mean, when you talk about guns, even to someone who isn't a gun person or who's brand new, they all know what a Glock is. I mean, they've all heard of the Glock, right? Whether it be from the movies, whether it be from the special forces guys, the law enforcement, whatever it is, they all know what.
They're in rap songs. I mean, it's in pop culture. It's
Glock 40. Glock 40.
Yeah.
But
You got the Glock switches that they're running around spraying the full autos.
yeah, well, I'll be honest with you. When I first got into like handguns and stuff, I mean, it was a long time ago, but I mean, I kind of just came into it kind of on my own, right? Like I didn't have like a mentor or anything like that, you know? But when I first came into it, I mean, I knew about Glocks, you know, and when I was looking to get a gun, that's the first thing I looked up. That's the first one I drifted to, right? And they were probably they're popular now, but everyone was all over their Glocks. That's when you were able to buy certain calibers of Glocks and get like the 22 conversion kits for them and everything. I mean, that was a really big deal, but that's how I came into it. And it's probably just because I'd heard it in pop culture. You know, Glock this, Glock that. You know, we actually when was it? It was Friday. So it was Friday. I had a big family group come in here, and James came down and helped me with that. And, you know, they had all different kinds of firearms to shoot in that class. And one of them, there was actually two Glocks there, right? There was a little 43, and then there was like is it like a 43X? So it's like the bigger 43 or yeah, something like that. But they, you know, those guys had larger hands, and those are kind of small guns, right? And they were both struggling with the trigger. The one guy actually came up to me and he's like, I'm going to tell you right now, like I can't shoot this gun. Like I really need some help. And I said, well, that's what you're here for. Let's watch this, right? And so we talked about, you know, where to place your finger on the trigger and the trigger press and everything that goes with it, you know, and the grip and all that. And they were shooting them, and yeah, I said, slow your trigger press down. And I'm finding that with Glocks, depending on the size of your hand, you don't have to have a massive hand, but because their triggers, right, they're stout. I'm going to say they're not good, but they're stout, right? They're stout, and you got to add that pressure. And then even if you're adding slow, steady pressure, you're pushing so hard if you're using the part of your finger that we're taught to use, right, which is what? The first third of like the pad of your finger, your trigger finger. Right. You're adding that pressure, and all of a sudden it just kind of pops, right? And then the gun fires. And so that's what gets that initial jerk, right? Well, I had those guys, and I've been having people do this a lot lately. If they can do it and they're shooting Glocks and they're struggling with the trigger, they move and they place their trigger finger. They use what I call the power crease. Do you know what that is? It's like the first joint. It's like the first joint. And what it does is it allows you. Now, this doesn't work on a lot of guns, but on these guns, it allows them to have they're a little stronger, you know, with that, and so they can actually press the trigger with a little more control, right? A little more control and less movement with their trigger finger, because they're using more of a gross muscle movement or gross motor skill. Right? They're just kind of flexing, and they're able to get in there and take the shot without jumping over that wall and then just, you know, slamming that trigger back. It's like they have more control if they use the power crease, and their hits on the target, their shooting improved dramatically, like within minutes. And so if you're out there, I don't know. I'm going to say right now, it's probably not a groundbreaking theory. I'm not claiming that it is, but, you know, and I'll be honest, you know, I've been doing this for quite a while, but I still learn things, right? I'm just me over here in my little world with the people that come see me. I don't go out and do a bunch of symposiums. I'm not around a bunch of other trainers and stuff, so I'm just basing off of my knowledge, but it's what I'm seeing. So if you have a Glock and you struggle with the trigger press, or you're not hitting where you need to, move it to that power crease and see what happens, because I'd be curious to know. It's worked for a handful of people that I've worked with, and so I'd be curious to know how that works. You know, I use that trick on a few of my other handguns that have a lot nicer triggers, but for me, what it is if I'm sitting there and I'm just wanting to like punch out the center of a bullseye, I'll use the center of the pad, the first third of my pad, whatever, my fingertip, right? But if I'm shooting quicker, I'm shooting it still, I'm taking multiple shots, I'll move to what we call the power crease. I'll move to that because it's less movement on my finger. I can find the get back on the wall on the trigger reset quicker, and it's just a slight flex, and it seems to work really well on the faster paced defensive stuff. But on those Glocks, it seems to work better than your fingertip. So I maybe that was just a long-winded rant I just did, but I kind of found it interesting.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I mean, I'm kind of similar to you. We grew up going to, our church had a thing called Manfest. So basically, all the guys, maybe 20 guys at our church, it was a small church. We go to a ranch, about a 50-acre ranch, had a gun range. A guy would bring a box of like Gen 3 Glocks and a bunch of Winchester 9mm, and you could basically just shoot 12-inch steel until your hands want to fall off.
That's cool.
So, and all the older guys would, maybe shoot 40 rounds, and me and my buddy, being young at the time, we just wanted to hear bang. So they would end up loading our mags. So, we were just, bang, 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 just shooting like crazy. So I did that, and we did that for like about four times. So when it was time for me to buy my Glock, I was like, I want a Glock 19 because I've literally shot like, 1,500 rounds from that point, through one of those. So I'm
right.
like, oh yeah, I know it, so, but yeah, it was either that or a H&K VP9, and I should have done that, or I should have got the MOS version, but I didn't, and then I just started tinkering with the grips, and you can stipple? Okay, well, I can do that, and you can put a new trigger in? Okay, well, let me do that. So I just started jacking with it, but I like it now, but now I've like destroyed the resale value, so now it's just like I'm stuck with it. The only thing is not red dot ready, and now I started getting into red dots, so now I'm like, do I buy a new slide, or do I like do a dove mount, or do I just leave it alone and buy a whole new gun? So now I'm like, whatever, I'll just keep it. I like it. So
yeah, I'm trying to, I did the same thing when I went to start going to optics for my handguns. I had a VP9 that I loved, absolutely loved, and I'm like, what do I do? Do I send the slide off and like get it milled, or what do I do? And then it's like they came out with the 2020, the VP9, they call it the 2020, and it came milled for a dot, and I was like, weigh the two options, and I was like, I'll just have two. I can shoot the VP9 great, so I just went ahead and bought a whole nother gun, because by the time I don't know if I could buy a slide at the time, and so I was gonna have to have it milled. And by the time I went and did all that, I was like, I'll just buy a second gun. And then I have two of them, right? I got one with irons, and so instead of me investing into like suppressor height sights, right? Because I'm going to use my dot. I just had two guns. I got one with just iron sights and one with a dot, and I didn't worry about suppressor height sights. I really don't care about that anyway, to be honest with you.
Nah.
that a lot of guys I know just shake their head and are like, well, you need them for back. Well, whatever. It is what it is. And typically in a defensive confrontation, it's going to be so close anyway, in my mind, that I'll be just fine.
Exactly, and it's not like you're having that in your duty grade holster and you're running the streets every single day and you're wrestling bad guys to the ground and stuff.
Yeah, because if I have a choice, I don't leave my house.
Exactly. Yeah, so you're fine.
So, we had some fun at
all the tactical Timmies are like screaming at their phones right now.
Oh, they are. They're like,
I'm shutting this off.
I just had a hard time spending like $200 on a set of sights. I mean, the only thing I have that's got suppressor height sights was my P30, which came with those sights, right? I mean, it came with it for the dot, and they're expensive. By the time you buy the optic, and then you have to go and buy sights on top of that, I'm like, screw it. I'm not doing it. I refuse. I put my foot down. You. Yeah.
With the double single action, so why can't, like, I know everyone's like, oh, the double action trigger is not the best. I know yours is like upgraded, but why don't they just cock the hammer back? Doesn't that automatically move it to single action, or do you have to fire double action first?
Well, no, if you're carrying with a round chamber, I guess you could do that, but it's just like a revolver, right? I mean, I train people. I was like, so the best way to carry that like revolver, obviously, is with the hammer down. And
Right.
and so that's going to be, it's a little different with a revolver, but you're going to have that heavy pull, and I'll just cock the hammer back. I'm like, yeah, but the trigger is so light at that point. And do you really want to worry about trying to do that under stress? Just teach yourself. This is what I say. Teach yourself how to run the gun the way the gun was meant to be run.
Gotcha. Okay.
And with a double single, there's ways you can get in there, and James would back me up 100%. There's plenty of ways that you can get in there, and you can make those super smooth double action pull. And there's kind of he's going to be proud of me for saying this, but there's kind of a beauty, kind of a finesse, right? It's like an art. A good double action press, that's kind of an art form. And once you get it down, I mean, you just don't even notice it. I mean, it's easy, it's smooth, and it's just part of owning a double single gun.
Yeah. My dad has a P229 that he loves, and I was like, how many rounds you shot through it? He's like, 500 rounds. I'm like, what? I'm like, I've shot like 3,000 rounds like in 1 year. I'm like, what are you doing? Am I even your son? No, I'm kidding.
Does he live near you?
Yeah, he lives near me. We go to the range all the time, but he just doesn't I guess he never really carried as much as I do.
Gotcha.
Maybe the world was a little different, growing up, but now I'm like, I can't imagine leaving the house without having, my gun carrying, and have a pocket knife and a flashlight, if I'm going out at night. And I don't know. I can't imagine not going out like that.
You need to talk to him, and you go to the range all the time. You need to go in and do like a group buy with him for some ammo, and then
we do. Yeah, we go halvesies on like 1,000 rounds.
Okay.
And, he has ammo and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know. I mean, he's older too, and he's had some health issues recently. But even before that, I'm like, you got that awesome gun. Like, I don't know. I guess I want to buy something, and I'm like, can I break it? Not like abuse it, but I'm like, can I run it to the point to like break it in or break it, Right. Then I'm like, I can buy a new one.
How's his vision? I mean, how's his vision as far as I don't know how old your dad is, but I mean, how's your vision as far as him seeing the sights? Like, is he a good shot? Does he struggle with seeing the sights and then seeing the Okay, so he's all good with that because, he's
not a bad shot. He used to do a bullseye competition back in the day.
Okay.
And all those people would do the little 22s, and he would troll them, and he brought out his 6-inch 44 Magnum just because of concussion. They were in an indoor range, and all people would just like kind of step away from him because they were trying to get their bullseye, and he'd squeeze off that 44 Magnum round.
That's funny. Well, speaking of that, in this class that I just had, we there was like 7 people in the class, and James came to help, and we did the classroom portion, and then we went out onto the range, and I kind of separated. James took some, and he took about half. I took half, and that way we can kind of get the class rolling, and we got everyone up to speed, and we get to a point where it's one person at a time, real quick, just to make sure everyone's comfortable. And then I'll have, like I had my group go up and just kind of, they would load and shoot at the same time. And then I would kind of, walk back and forth behind them. I only had 3 people in my group. And as they do that, load, shoot. I was able to watch them and get them all tuned in and, that kind of thing. Make sure they're doing everything good. And then it was kind of just like a fun shoot after that toward the end, because they had brought a whole bunch of guns, and it's a family group. And so they had some odds and ends little guns, and they pulled out this revolver, and it was like Smith & Wesson 41 Magnum. That thing was sweet. So the guy that set it all up, he was like the grandpa, and so he brought his kids and his grandkids, and they were all here. There's even a set of twin girls. They were like 15 years old, and James had them down. They were shooting like the 22s and some different things, because they were pretty new to shooting. But the grandpa would stand next to me while his grandson was shooting that 41 mag, and he's like, "That kid's gonna put me in the poorhouse." He's like, "That's like $2 a round."
Yeah.
And he's like $2 a round, and it's kind of hard to find. And that kid ran through, I think he ran through like 75 rounds.
Oh my!
He just shot it. He was shooting it. I'd be like $2, $4, $6, and his grandpa was like just shaking his head. Goes, he's having a good time. I guess just let him do it. But that was a fun class, and we got toward the end there, and James, the guys that helped me, I compensate them a little. It's not great, but I do compensate them a little bit. And then they'll usually bring guns. So like at the end of class, they'll say, "Hey, can I shoot my new gun that I built or whatnot?" And so the class is kind of winding down, and they were still shooting. And James was like, "Hey, it's getting kind of dark. Can I grab some guns that I have?" And I said, "Yeah." And so he came and he brought out this like shotgun that he's building, right? And so what it is I don't know the exact brand, but from what I gather, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong. From what I gather, it's a Turkish-made shotgun, and it's pretty much like a Benelli, but it's not. You don't have to pay as much for it. So James, this is perfect for James because James likes to mess with everything. He likes to build it. I mean, the guy's fantastic when it comes to doing stuff like this. So he's got this gun that he got for a good deal because it's a Turkish-made shotgun, and he's added stuff to it, taken it to a gunsmith and had some stuff done to it, and has replaced a bunch of the parts with the higher inside, some of the internals, I think, with the higher-end Benelli parts. So he has this Turkish gun that's essentially Benelli for like way less than what it costs to buy the Benelli. And so,
that's cool.
Yeah, so he's got it all. He's got this defensive shotgun all built and just having fun with it. But he let a couple of the people there and shoot it in class, and they were just grinning from ear to ear. He let the grandpa. He's the guy that set the class up. He's an old 1911 guy. So, I can't remember. What's the name of that? Oh, shoot. Some real end, James. It's like right there.
Is it the platypus?
No, it's not the platypus. It's the other one.
Staccato?
The staccato. Like, he let him shoot the staccato, and the guy was just grinning from ear to ear. He's like, oh, my gosh. He's shooting the staccato, and he's like, I want to shoot this some more. I want to shoot this some more. I want to shoot this some more. And he just kept, and he was stacking shots, man. James, like, he's an old 1911 guy. So he's got this staccato. He's like, this is perfect for him. And he was just boom, 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 just having a great time with that staccato. So it was kind of fun to see, and everyone likes to shoot, new guns. They might not never get a chance to shoot again.
Oh yeah, fun.
So it was a good class. And so something else I got coming up, possibly, it's still kind of in the works. Speaking of that defensive shotgun, is I think I might try to put together some kind of defensive shotgun class. And so we're kind of looking forward to doing some, I'm looking forward to doing some new stuff in the new year. And now's the time of year that I just kind of lay all that out and create some plans. And I do this every year. And some years the plans catch on and they roll, and I do them year after year. And sometimes we try to do it and it doesn't quite take off, and you just kind of try something else, right? That's what it's like when you run a business, right? You have a list of ideas, and sometimes some work and sometimes some don't. But I'm looking forward to if we can get that class put together, because I think it'd be a fun time.
Yeah, no, I think that would be fun. I'm kind of like figuring out what I want to do. I just recently got some ammo, and then I got a little bit of money for Christmas. So I'm like, I kind of want to get a shotgun. So the semi-autos are cool, but I've heard you got to tweak them a little bit. So I kind of want to just get just like a Mossberg pump.
Yes.
And just kind of see, just run it with the bead sight. And then I looked on they have the little barrel, the tube. There's a gap that you can put a mount to put a flashlight on there. So it would kind of be like my home defense. I might put a sling on it because I don't have an AR or a rifle. So that would kind of be like my mid-range gun sort of, and then I have my pistols. And honestly, I'm a pistol guy. I love shooting pistols.
Me too.
Want to do more competitions and stuff like that. But I'm like, I probably need some more stopping power. So I thought about like a bolt action 308. I'm like, I'll probably just get a shotgun, and then just kind of run that. And it's pretty fun. So I've been kind of just deep diving on YouTube and making myself sick because I'm like, I want to buy it, but I don't have the money yet. So I'm like saving. I'm looking at my shed, what tools I can sell that I haven't used or whatever. Go to the pawn shop or something.
Right.
Typical me. Or I'll text all my contractor friends, and some of them buy from me, so I get money pretty quick sometimes. But I was watching Grantham, and he has like the Benelli shotgun, and he was shooting a ballistic dummy with a buckshot, and he shot it like 5 times, like quick. And then one of the comments was like, well, I guess if you use this in home defense, the only thing you need to save up for is your cleaning bill. You know, 'cause it was just like, I mean, one thing a buckshot, you know, I think he said it was like 9 pellets that are 60 grain each, you know,
Oh,
so
wow, yeah.
480 grains, you know, smacking you in the chest. I mean, that's just nasty, you know.
It's
So
gonna
it's
be a mess. You mentioned
Yeah.
you were looking at the Mossberg shotgun. So I like Mossberg. I've got a couple of Mossberg shotguns. They're not defensive shotguns. They're just like hunting shot. I love them. I love my Mossberg shotguns. Another one, and I don't know, I haven't priced out shotguns for years. In fact, the last new Mossberg shotgun I bought was so long ago that it was new from Kmart for like $168. So
Oh, that's cool.
that was a long time ago, but you may look at like the Maverick shotguns too.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at, the Maverick 88.
Yeah, they're the same.
So
They're the same thing as the Mossbergs, pretty much.
I think it's the same parts as the 500. It's just like a little cheaper because I think it's actually made in Texas, I believe.
Oh, there you go.
So that's perfect for me, and you can get them pretty affordable. And I think you can even swap out barrels too. So I mean, if I wanted to. So I know some friends shoot clay around here and stuff like that, or hog hunting, or, you know, I don't know. And it's pretty versatile, you know, because, you know, you can throw a bird shot in there, you know, shoot some birds, or, you know, you can put a buckshot in there, you know, or slug. So, I mean, it's really like you can shoot a bear, you can shoot a little rabbit in America for hunting wise. You know, it's very versatile. So.
Oh yeah, and their shotguns are fun to shoot. You start shooting some trap and skeet, or get out and shooting some ducks or something. Shotguns are fun. They are like really fun. I enjoy the heck out of them. But well, you know, we originally, and you know, I don't mind having you on the podcast by any means, but our plan today, as I shift gears here on us, our plan today was, you mentioned on the last time you were on the show, you mentioned that you were actually taking a friend of yours that was new to firearms, new shooter, or had never shot before. I don't remember, but is now showing some interest. I don't remember exactly what the story is, but I tell you what, if you want to give us a range report on that, like tell us your friend's mindset, and did he like guns, not like guns? What made him decide to go? What's making him make this different choice, maybe into purchasing a firearm, and how did the experience at the range go?
Yeah. Okay. So we went the day after we recorded the last podcast. So that was fun. So we walk up and we pulled the Walther PDP Pro, which is what he wants, and then we pulled a VP9 HK, and then a CZ P10. So they're like polymer frame, full size.
Right. And
then I had my Mechanic Rival and my Glock 19. So I had a little bit of ammo. So showed him how to load it. I ran through quick safety. I was like, basically, showed him the slide lock. I said, whatever you do not put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. You got your sights lined up. I said, the worst possible thing you could do is, I probably scared him, but I was like, the worst possible thing you could do is shoot before you're ready to shoot, move the barrel to the left or the right. It has to be downrange. If there's a problem, set it down, step back, and I will look at it, just because he's like super new.
Right.
And I was like, they will kick us out of here, you know? So he was all like, you know, probably nervous, which is good, because you need to have reverence for it, because it can be fun, but you need to be safe, you know, because if you're not safe, no one wants to be around you. And I sure don't want to be around someone that's not safe. So,
yeah.
So got that hammered out. And then, so we shot the PDP. He mostly shot probably 150 rounds through that PDP. And then the rest of he liked the HK. The paddle release was a little weird for him.
They make an American version, by the way, the HK that has the button.
I know he's kind of in his head. He's like, I want a PDP Pro. I was like, but you don't need that gun for your first gun. I was like, you're such a snob. You know, I was like, just get something basic. But
get the good one.
Yeah, well, the PDP Pro is interesting because the grip, it fits my hand like a glove. It's almost very comparable to the HK grip, if the listeners are familiar with that. But the trigger, it's very comparable to the Canic rival.
Well, they
So
took that. Rumor has it Canic stole that trigger, or took that trigger from the Walther.
I'm almost like dead set that they did, because I've looked at my buddy's internals of his PDP and my internals, and I've looked at like Ben Stoger's Pro Shop, and a lot of the Walther and Canic parts are interchangeable with springs and stuff. So and like the magazines look identical. Like I'm pretty sure I could throw my Canic magazines into my friend's PDP and they would work just fine, you know. So
yeah.
they probably copied it, but PDP wins on the grip side. So he liked it a lot.
Is that, I didn't mean to interrupt you, is the PDP Pro, is that the one that's got the competition type stuff, like the blue trigger and stuff?
Yeah, so it comes with their dynamic performance trigger, and then it comes with like a magwell and a threaded barrel. So that's really what you're getting with the Pro. So I think it's like only $200 more than like the stock one. So it's like $800 versus their $650 PDP.
Right.
So I mean, it's worth it. You know, it's a nice gun for sure. Definitely a good first gun. I mean, I think he'll really like that a lot. But so yeah, he shot that. His groups, I mean, he was, you know, the normal shaking. He's like, why is it shaking so much? You know, I'm like, it's just, you got to get rounds down range, get used to it, you know?
Yeah.
He
was tense.
Yeah, he was tense and he did good. He's like, why do I keep shooting low left? I'm like, yeah, you got to figure but it's just normal. I'm like, everything you're doing is normal, you know, and stuff. But it's kind of interesting, like seeing him shoot. And then like my mind was kind of going through, like, I've shot a lot more rounds this year. So you're probably a lot similar. You probably can relate to this, Todd, but like when I shoot, like, it's like, I can see my dots, see where I want to like shoot at the target. You know, I'm like, I feel the wall. And then I'm like, okay, like I want to shoot now. And then I hear boom, you know, and I don't flinch or anything. And I see it, you know, impact. I see the sights lift. Like, it's almost like I can take in a lot more information because I've shooting a lot more, you know, and I'm more like, I guess, more inclined, like not inclined, I'm more aware of it. Are you similar to that?
Yeah,
you know,
so that's just time behind the trigger. That's just, you've shot a lot, dry fire, you've learned to really focus on the trigger, you've learned that, so everything is kind of coming, I won't say natural to you, but it's kind of coming natural to you, like you've developed that muscle memory, so you're not having to focus on 5 things at once or 4 things at once, right? I mean, so you're past that point, right? And so when I shoot, and it's kind of weird. I don't know what I call it. I don't know if I call it like a Zen moment or what, but right as I'm pressing that trigger, right, I just clear my mind. I just clear my mind, and the only thing I can feel is the trigger, and I see the sights. Where you have a new shooter, so I haven't shot that much in an indoor range, but you got a new shooter, and there's nothing against you. You told them all the safety rules and what to do, and you know you're very like you have to do this or they're gonna kick us out, right? So he's thinking about that. He knows he's going to fire this gun. He knows it's essentially going to be a controlled explosion in his hand when he fires this gun. He's got other people shooting all around, you know, to the left and to the right probably. And so he's nervous. He doesn't know what to expect from the recoil. He's a guy, so he's like, I want to hit the target. And now, you know, why am I shooting low left? I want to do better. And so he's all that stuff. He's thinking about stance. He's thinking about trigger press. He's thinking about these people next to me are shooting. He's thinking about the noise and the recoil that he's going to hear from the gun he's shooting. He's thinking about his grip. He's thinking about aligning the sights. So he's just got information overload at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're used to it, so you don't quite notice that anymore. And I see that when I do my permit classes. I didn't mean to cut you off, but when I do the permit classes, there's people that maybe they've gone and they've shot by themselves or with a family member, you know, and then you put them on a firing line where there's 15, 16 other people, and there might be 15 people standing behind them watching them shoot, waiting for those 15 people to move back so they can shoot. You got a total of 30 people there, and bang, 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 and you could just see the stress level, just their blood pressure just goes through the roof, right? Their adrenaline is up. I mean, you name it. It's like it can be very daunting for a new shooter.
Oh yeah, you feel like the concussion of the other rounds, going off beside you, and just. I mean, it's not normal for you to be so close to explosions and stuff like that. So it takes some getting desensitized to it, and just more trigger time. That's what I was telling him. I was like, everything you're feeling is normal. I was like, the best thing you did, I was like, you were very safe. I was like, you weren't unsafe at all. He had a couple malfunctions because the PDP Pro was actually like brand new. They just set it out to rent like 2 hours ago, like before we showed up. So that was like perfect for him because that was the gun that he really wanted, and so that was perfect. And I was like, everything, you just need more time.
What kind of malfunctions did he have with it?
I think it was limp wristing.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's limp wristing.
Yeah, it never happened to me whenever I shot it, but it was it was a good gun. It doesn't make me want to sell my other two and get it, but I liked it. So it's definitely a solid choice for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So was he like, did he think he's going to go back and buy the Pro? Did he find another gun that he likes? What was his overall, like, is he going to move forward with this, or is this just kind of a one-time deal with him?
No, he is. He was like telling his wife, showing her, she was like $800. I was like, yeah. I was like, it is a big, expense, but I was like, my dad's had, that PP or P229, he got, forever ago. He's had it for 20 years. I was like, so, I mean, they last a long time. I was like, so it's an investment. I was like, you're not gonna be sad. I mean, you got to pay a little bit of money up front, but then once you have it, you pretty much have it, unless you have to use it, in a self-defense, stance, and then the cops take it, for evidence, and hopefully you get it back. But I was like, it's worth it. It's an investment up front, but then after that, so basically his wife and them, they're excited. His wife actually wants to go take classes too.
Oh, cool.
So I told him, take some training, which is cool that she's on board. And they're just kind of saving. So hopefully once he gets a little more tax return money, or maybe an end of the year bonus or something like that. So I think they have 5 kids.
Oh, gotcha.
5 or 4. They're a little older. They're teenage years. So, I mean, he's a big coffee drinker. I was like, stop going to Starbucks and, stash a little bit of money, start saving, and before you know it, you'll be there. So
yeah, and then if she starts shooting, and if she likes that PDP Pro, she needs to go and look at the PDP-F.
Yeah, exactly. That would be perfect for her.
They'd have his and hers, his and hers PDPs. I like it. So
it'd be so that's kind of his mindset. I mean, he's not going to get it right away because just due to the funds, but he definitely is excited about it. So he wants to do it. So he was like, that was the most fun ever. He's like, I think this is my new hobby. And
cool.
It was definitely a positive experience. So
that's cool. You turned him onto the podcast yet?
No, not yet. I need to send it to him. I'll send this one to him.
Yeah, because we talked about him. Do you need to shout out his name?
Yeah, Carlos.
Okay, there you go. He's going to be our newest subscriber. He's going to be subscriber number 6.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a podcast guy. He's always I'm always like I don't know if he's in podcasts. I send him some, but some he listens to, some not. So hopefully he'll start listening to it. So
what we need to do is I don't know. We can't do that. I'd love to have both of you guys on the podcast at once, but I can't do that on the phone. That's really hard to do. As I say, he's a new shooter. I should get him on the podcast too sometime. But
that'd be cool.
You sent me a story.
I did.
That is I believe is out of Fort Worth, and so I always try to describe them, and then I go ahead and play the audio clip, and it's like, why did I even waste my breath when I've got the audio clip right here? So I'm going to go ahead and play this audio clip, and it's almost like 2 stories in one, and so we're going to play it, and then we'll kind of break it down, and I'll give my probably unpopular thoughts on the situation, and then we'll just go ahead and close out the show after that. But I'll go ahead and play it. Here we go.
A Fort Worth woman who shot and killed a teenager she says was breaking into her rental home told us today how the incident has changed her life. Police have not filed charges for the shooting, and they plan to submit the case for a grand jury review. Aaliyah Wallace talked exclusively with Fox 4's Sean Rabb, who joins us now live. Sean.
Leah Wallace bought a gun to protect herself and her family, she tells me, after a rash of break-ins in her apartment. Those happened while she and her family were not at home. But on December 14th, twice that day, while she was home with her kids, someone tried to get in.
I was cleaning my living room, sweeping my floor, and I heard her window start going back up. So I went and I looked in the hallway, and I could see him standing at the window lifting it up, and I just shot.
Gunshots that killed 14-year-old Devin Baker at the bedroom window of Aaliyah Wallace's 8-year-old daughter early morning, December 14th.
It's bothering me that he was a kid.
The incident happened not long after police left Wallace's home after responding to her 911 call about someone trying to break into her duplex.
So I called him at 1:22 a.m. We talked for like 30 minutes. They did a report, took pictures of everything, and then they left.
I believe there were reports that you had been burglarized or attempted burglaries before?
Yes, I have like 3 or 4 police reports before this night.
So what has happened since this incident?
The apartment called and told me that I was not supposed to have a gun at all, even though I kept calling them and telling them somebody was breaking in. They told me I could not have a gun and that I have 30 days to vacate.
And how does that make you feel?
Feel like I'm back at square one. I've been there for 6 years, so now I don't know what to do.
This case is going to the grand jury. It's a referral, as they call it, and they're going to let citizens decide. What do you want people to know about you, Aaliyah Wallace?
That I was only protecting my kids. I have 4 daughters. It's just me and my 4 daughters that stay there. I just was protecting my daughters.
How do you feel about what happened?
I'm devastated that he was 14. I hate that. I literally do, and I'm so sorry. But at that point, I had to think about my babies. I didn't know he was 14 when he was on the other side of that window. All I knew that somebody could come in here and hurt me or my kids. That's it.
So now Wallace lived in federally subsidized housing. We're seeking clarity on whether she can be evicted. She's concerned that if she is convicted, it would be difficult to find new housing for her and her 4 girls. We called the apartment complex today. The manager there told us to call the corporate office. We did so. The corporate office said, get your information from the local apartment complex. No answers for our questions today.
So that's like 2 stories in one, 2 issues in one. And, we have the issue of her shooting the 14-year-old, and I kind of possibly see some red flags with that. And then we have the issue of them wanting to kick her out of her apartment I saw a video on it. It didn't look like an apartment to me. It looked kind of like a duplex type. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, it's like a townhome.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's start with the first story first, and that's her shooting that 14-year-old. So I'm going to break down actually, you know what? I want you to tell me what you think, because I don't want what I say to affect what you does that make sense? Because I think a little differently on a lot of these. I tend to think kind of outside the box a little bit, and but anyhow, what is your take on that situation?
Honestly, it's pretty frustrating because I get where she was at. I don't know exactly, because it seemed like she said she just saw him at the window and fired. So it seemed like obviously her adrenaline's probably up. She probably didn't have a lot of training. I mean, armchair quarterbacking it, I would, maybe say some verbal commands, or even shine a flashlight at that window. I would think that would probably be a little deterrent, it'd be like, hey, I hear you, I have a gun, stop, or something like that. Don't just fire blindly. As far as it being a 14-year-old, if you're going to break into somebody's home, I think, unfortunately, if you're going to, do a big boy crime, people have guns, especially in Texas. That's just kind of the nature of home invasions. You're going to run into armed homeowners as you're coming into their home. She's called the cops multiple times. They can only do so much. So, it kind of sucks that they're trying to evict her too, which I don't think is going to hold up.
Yeah.
But as far as the first part, but so I don't know. That's kind of my. If it was me, I would definitely shine the light at the window, or just, or verbal commands, or, wait till they're inside the house. I don't want to take anybody's life. But she's there with her 4 daughters, and it's her 8-year-old daughter's window. Me
No,
having a
I get it.
6-year-old. I mean, I would, I'd probably do the same. It's my daughter. You want to protect your kids. So, what are your takes?
So it's actually pretty close. It's pretty close to what yours is. It sucks. It is a 14-year-old, but hey, 14-year-olds and people of all ages commit crimes, right? And there's no way, it didn't sound like she knew. And I see some freaking big 14-year-olds, like big 14-year-olds. And she didn't know, according to what she said, that how old this person was. But she kind of shot blindly at the window. Now you look at it legals, and I'll talk about legal a little bit, but I don't know what Texas allows and doesn't allow, or what they require. I just kind of know based on Idaho, right? So, she was trying to opening the window, trying to get into the kids' room. Now, it's not required in Idaho to say anything necessarily, but hey, look, I don't want to shoot, and I'm not here to I am here to judge her a little bit, but I mean, she did what she had to do in the moment, and if I ever do something, someone's going to judge the hell out of me as well. So,
right.
It's my thought that if someone ever breaks into my house, right? I got a gun. The police are on their way. Get out. I've got whatever, right? I'll shoot. Get out. I'll shoot. You need to leave. Whatever I say, right? In the heat of the moment, right? Because I don't want to have to shoot someone if I don't have to. Okay. So here you got this kid, this person coming, opening the window, hadn't stepped foot in the house yet. And the lady saw it and went boom, 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 just shot and killed this person. Didn't say anything, just drew. She was probably scared. There's probably a lot going on there. She was worried about her safety. Her adrenaline was already pumped because it sounds like someone tried to break in earlier that night as well. And that, previously, and she said she was on the phone to the police at like 1:20 that morning. They took a report, they left, and then it happened again. And so she was on edge already as it was. Was it a good shoot? I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to see what Texas law says.
And I know it's Catholic doctrine. It just seems like premature.
It does.
I think if he would have opened the window and he would have stepped in and then she fired, then it's like hands down clean shoot. But
they're also going to look at it. Well, this also is a woman, and I'm not saying women are less, right? But there is disparity of force. She
Correct.
didn't know this was a 14-year-old kid on the other side of that window. Who would have thunk? Who would ever? I would never imagine that a 14-year-old is going to break into my house in the middle of the night. She probably maybe didn't think that as well, right? That's
an 8th grade. That's a middle schooler.
Yeah, I know. And so but then you also don't see anything. She never said she saw anything. She said she heard the window going up and she shot. Then there's a lot there. And so they're going to have to look at it, and hopefully a jury of her peers says that she's okay. But I mean, we'll see. There's a lot to that. I know around here there was some people that I talked to a while back, and they were just like, we can't let this kind of stuff happen anymore. We just got to take it into our own hands, and you shoot one and no more are going to come. And I'm like, yeah, but you took a life. You took a life, and you shouldn't want to take a life, and you shouldn't go off, half-assedly and just start shooting. You shouldn't do that. You have to live with taking that life. Your kids, you just shot over the top of them probably, right? They're in that room. You just shot over the top of them because really, if she couldn't see the kid, she just heard the window opening. She wasn't that close to the window, so my thoughts are she shot across the room. Your kids were in that room. There's a lot of stuff to take into consideration there.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
I didn't think of.
And as far as now she's getting, supposedly kicked out of her home that she rented her rental because they said guns weren't allowed. So this is the way I look at this. That is, okay. So you look at it, owning a gun, Second Amendment right. I don't know what Texas law says, but I'm just going based off of what Idaho law is. Okay. So Idaho law says if a private business or someone's house, their personal home, they can make whatever rules they want to make. Okay. And they don't even really have to have a sign. Like in Idaho, if you come up to a building, a business, let's say, and there's a sign that says no guns, that sign does not carry the weight of law. They don't want you to have a firearm in there. But if you carry in there anyway, and they see the firearm, they were probably going to ask you to leave. And have you broken a gun law, at that point? No, you have not. It's when you refuse to leave and they call law enforcement, and then you can get trespassed. It's still not a gun violation, right? You're going to get trespassed from the property. Like if you lived here, you didn't like guns, even if I didn't know it, and I went to visit you at your house, okay, and you found out I had a gun. He said, no guns in this house. You have every right to tell me to leave with that gun. You don't want that gun in the house. Like that is your home. That is your business, whatever. You can tell me whatever you want. Even if a business doesn't have a sign up and I carry past it and they say, we don't want your gun in here, I have to leave with it. Okay. That is the right of that business. Now, if I work for somebody and, I know, and I'm not saying she did, and I know that they don't allow firearms there, but I take my gun anyway, and I have been for a long time, nobody knows, and then one day comes where I actually have to use my firearm in that, and there's been stories about this, but I have to use my firearm while I'm at work to save people from an active shooter or something. And I do that, I save the day. That business still has the right to fire me because they have stated in a policy, right, that says we don't want your gun in here. Like, don't bring guns to work. Like, that's not allowed. They can still fire me. Even if I was perfectly legal, they can still fire me. So did she know that she wasn't allowed to have a firearm, in this rental? I don't know. People who have rentals can make lots of rules. No pets, no smoking, no cats, no fish, no, whatever they want to. And you sign up for that. And they can kick you out if you violate that lease agreement. So was this written in the lease agreement? I don't know. And if it wasn't, it's still their property. Can they, if they have a lease agreement, I just don't think they could break it, even if they decided they didn't want firearms, but it wasn't in that lease agreement. So I think she would possibly win. But I mean, do you see what I'm saying? I don't know. Is it right? I don't know. I think it's that private property. You have the choice to make those decisions about your property.
That's true. Yeah, I would have wanted to see the lease agreement. But it just seems like she's called multiple times from what it seems like. So, I mean, any decent human be like, hey, like I'm a mother. I have four girls. I'm getting broken into, and then they're like, I'm going to have to get a gun to protect myself. Oh, well, that's in the lease agreement or whatever, and then it's like, okay, well then if you're not willing to let me have a firearm to protect myself, then are you willing to put up security cameras, motion detector lights, bars around the windows? I mean, like, what are you willing to do? So it just seems pretty, it's just unfortunate.
No, it is. And it is. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I just don't know. Like I said, I think it all comes down to what did the lease agreement say? Because I mean, that right there, that's a contract. That's a legal contract.
Correct.
And yeah. So, and then how much is, let's say it wasn't in there that's beside the point, but how much is your landlord actually responsible for your safety? I mean, you can't, expose wires. Obviously that's bad, and all the OSHA stuff, that's bad, but are they responsible for like security? As long as the deadbolts work, as long as the windows are locked, as long as the all those locks work, right? All those things work. How far do they have to take it? How far are they required to take that?
Yeah.
I mean, didn't we need to go back and think about, well, why wasn't the window locked? And then maybe she could say, well, we don't know this for sure. I'm just making up stuff. But maybe she could say, well, the window was unlocked because it was partially open because the AC doesn't work, because you guys haven't fixed the AC that I've asked you to fix 900 times. Do you see what I'm saying? And it could go all kinds of different places.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess, I mean, I would say takeaway for the listeners maybe, and my takeaways personally, it's like harden your home. So
sure.
Put in longer screws on the doors so it's harder to kick in. You can cut little wooden dowels, little wooden cylinders, to go above your windows. So even if the locks don't work, you physically can't open it. Motion detector lights, those Ring camera. They're pretty cheap. You set one of those little inside cameras just facing out right at that window, or set up a motion detector light right over there or something,
And I will say motion detector lights are really easy. They got these ones now, I believe, that just there's nothing involved. It just they just screw into your socket and they're light bulbs that just come on, right? I mean, they're pretty simple. In fact, I don't know how well they work, but I've seen actually you screw them into they look like a light bulb, but they're actually a camera. So that's kind of cool as well. So there's definitely things that could be done. And I've actually gone out to houses for people and said, well, you got a bunch of shrubbery around your house, bushes around your window. I said, cut them back, cut them down. You want to make those visible. You don't want to allow someone to be able to hide behind these bushes while they try to figure out how to get your door open or your window open, right? Have those lights that come on
or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the turn. But if someone really, really wants to get in, then but then it goes to the whole thing. Like if she did all of that and then he was inside her house and then she shot, I don't think that'd be an issue because she'd be like, look, I spent my own money on this rental. I put up all this stuff. He still went through those deterrents. He stepped foot inside my property that I'm renting. So under castle law, I shot him, Grant, seeing if the lease agreement is allowing firearms or not, which we don't know, but you just have to look at your house and be like, could someone hide here or, make it a hard target,
Oh, for sure.
Light it up at the time, make it just like, if you're really, really wanting to come in, then at that point, it's like, okay, he's obviously someone's on drugs or they're really, really wanting to come in. They've obviously don't care if a light's shining on them. They've picked my lock. They've kicked my door in with my long screws. They're inside my house. Now it's time to okay, they're obviously going really far, so now I can take it to lethal force if need be,
Right.
So.
Well, and this is the same thing I tell everyone is this has been my opinion on all this. If you live somewhere where you can't have a firearm and you want to have a firearm, that's on you. If you work somewhere where you're not allowed to carry a firearm, but you still carry a firearm, that's on you.
Right.
If those kind of situations, if you carry a gun into somewhere where you're not allowed to have a firearm, whether it's legal or a federal building or whatever, right? I'm not encouraging that, but just know that if you have to use your gun, if you have to use your firearm, and then it is produced, even if you save the day, there are still ramifications for that. If you carry into a school here, one of our schools that doesn't allow firearms, we have a unique situation with schools here, but if you carry into one that doesn't allow firearms and you have to save that entire school from a mass shooter, and you do so when you save lives, that's fantastic. But guess what? You still broke a federal law. So, we don't.
I have a funny story about that.
Yeah, we don't want to see what happens, but you just have to know that there could be ramifications, and they may be negative.
Yeah. Okay, so this is pretty funny. So it was not funny about Uvalde. That was terrible. But
right.
But so in the wake of that, some father at some middle school, 20 minutes from me, was obviously, I guess, ramped up and stuff like that. He was feeling on edge. So he decided to carry, right? So he put his revolver in his pants, no holster, shot himself in the leg, picking up his kid because he wanted to protect them. So the cops swarmed. There was there was maybe a shooting at some middle school, in Arlington. And it's come to find out this dad did not have a proper holster, did not carry correctly, and ended up shot himself in the leg.
Oh,
and now he probably getting a felony charge, and now he can't even have a gun anymore.
Yeah, well, if you're carrying without a holster, I want to know the story, though, a little bit now, because if you're carrying without a holster, that's not a good thing either, right? I mean, you need to, even if you pocket carry, you need a proper holster. But let's talk, and, I don't want to get too in because we probably need to shut this thing down in the next couple minutes, but a revolver in your pocket and somehow it goes off. Like, what happened? Like, was your hand in there on the freaking trigger? Because revolvers have really freaking heavy triggers. I mean, so I want to know. I'm not saying don't carry one without a holster, okay? But he did. Like, what did he do to make the gunfire? Like, I mean, worst case, thing that goes to my mind was he didn't like have the hammer back and had it in his pocket, did he? Because,
I don't know.
Maybe pulled his keys out or something.
I don't know if it was even I might have been wrong about the revolver, but I know it was a hand. And yeah.
Gotcha.
But I mean, even there was a fat lady at a ballpark, a baseball game. She stuck a gun in her fat rolls and then it discharged and she shot herself and she got through security because they didn't catch it. I mean, wear a holster.
Yeah,
get some training. Get some training in 2024, and know your local laws and make the most educated decision you can. But yeah, just don't shoot yourself in the leg or your fat rolls. So.
Yeah, don't do that. But, well, hey, it's been great having you back on the podcast, and we'll have to do this again. And I know we've talked about kind of alternating you kind of in and out of different podcasts. And so if you're still up for that, I think that would be a lot of fun. So
hey, that would be fun. This year I'm planning on hopefully doing more shooting competitions and hopefully getting some more friends to purchase firearms and
coming out to Idaho to visit me. Oh.
Yeah.
You got to come. You got to. We need that road trip, man. You got to come on up here.
That's going to happen. It's going to have to. So
it'll have to. So anyhow, thanks for listening to the podcast. I do appreciate all the listeners and supporters. It's been a good year. I'm not planning on shutting this thing down anytime soon. As far as the podcast is concerned, I don't care if we get down to like two subscribers. I'll just keep doing it. And I will say this though. I'll tell you what, this is a podcast that I do. This podcast costs you nothing to subscribe to. So subscribe to it. Okay. It's free. Do that. Share it with your family, share it with your friends. I would appreciate it. And just know this podcast costs you nothing. Okay. So if I don't get an episode out right away, or if you don't like something I said, that's fine. You can let me know. But it's probably ain't going to change. It is what it is, man. I mean, I'm not making any money off this thing. I enjoy doing it, so I'm not complaining. But don't come at me like, where's your podcast? Where's your podcast? Why don't you need to? I'm like, you know what? I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. Stuff happens. This isn't, the podcast isn't my main job, and I do enjoy doing it, and I'll continue to try to get stuff out every week. But, it's a new year, so just, it's going to be a new year. So just give me a break. Everyone go out, have a safe evening, and hopefully everyone has a great New Year's, and stay safe. And I'll catch you guys again. Let's see, what is it today? Today's Sunday. I'll probably catch you again sometime next week. Probably be closer to the weekend. But thanks for listening. Bye.